I mean, when you switch over to Benghazi for a second, it took us 13 hours in the Obama administration to act in that terror attack against Americans. I doubt Mr. Trump would take 13 minutes to order swift and aggressive action to save those men. The difference is just startling, and I think it's going to boil down to this fact that, hey, if we're not alive, the other issues in the election don't matter.
Eric, I want to ask you about that, about Hillary Clinton, and with the president clearly ready and willing and eager to campaign for her leading up until November. Does that hurt her? Because, again, more and more she's going to have to own what this administration has done, or rather what they have not done, to tackle and fight and prevent terror attacks from the Islamic State.
Well, you know, interestingly enough, I would love for it to hurt Hillary Clinton on the campaign trail. Remember back in 2000 when Al Gore was running, he didn't want Bill Clinton on the campaign trail. A lot of people thought that hurt him then in a very close election with George Bush. Unfortunately for Republicans, the more Donald Trump has been on the campaign trail, the higher Barack Obama's popularity has gone. There's almost a direct correlation to the unpopularity of Trump to the popularity of the president. Now, it's absurd in my mind that that's the case, but in fact, that actually is the case. The president's popularity now averages 55% when just 8 weeks ago it was 49%.
Yeah, you're right. I don't understand that.
I mean, do you think that'll change? I feel like that has to change at some point, because I know when he speaks out about this, it's not going to be passionate like he talks about gun control. Like it's
right. But
guys, we have two candidates. Neither one will say the words radical Islamic terrorism. They'll say variants of that phrase, but they won't use the phrase because it's offensive to some people, they believe, and that's their bottom line. That's their priority, making sure the image of Islam worldwide is portrayed in a favorable fashion. That's not our priority. That's not family's priority. That's not Mr. Trump's priority. His priority is protecting American lives. And push comes to shove, I think you're going to see a radical shift in the polls in the next 30 days. And God forbid this happens again.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
But if it does, I mean,
it didn't happen after Orlando.
The Quinnipiac poll out today actually does narrow the gap between the two, and that was taken after the most recent upset in Orlando, the fatality there. By the way, we should also point out that yesterday Hillary said it's time to move on beyond Benghazi. So right in the face of all of this, you know, the Benghazi report.
Just look at her past record on handling this. Totally irrelevant.
I think the family members who lost their loved ones in that attack aren't moving on, Secretary.
Yeah, especially because she came out.
Can I just say that if this administration, if the media overall was not as biased as it is and in the tank to protect the precious of the Obama administration, the lead story this morning on the New York Times would be that the president, 50 days before an election, had the nonpartisan policy elements of his administration go out and lie to the American public when they knew darn well that it was actually an organized terrorist attack. They blamed a YouTube video. They threw the First Amendment under the bus to save the president's re-election campaign.
The New York Times in the lead said, well, this is finally over now. So even the media is saying it for her.
And the Democrats' minority report mentions Donald Trump 23 times. At least roughly 24 mentions of Donald Trump.
Stunning.
Rather than,
and I agree with Dagan.
Rather than focusing on those who died. Those who died. That is shameful.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
And Dagan, you're right. It's spitting in the face of the families of those 4 men. It's just disgraceful, and it needs to be dealt with as such.
Gentlemen, thank you. Eric Erickson, David Wall, we will see you soon. Gentlemen, thanks very much. The Obama administration releasing more than 2,000 illegal immigrants, meanwhile, who were in prison. Where did they end up?